Zoom room, no? Hello everyone, good evening, early evening ba ngayon? Or late afternoon? Di talaga ako sure, sa true lang. But good evening to everyone in the Zoom room right now. Okay. All right. Well, we're waiting for more people to come join us in our lovely workshop, last workshop of UX and Chill, actually. Maybe you guys can interact with me through the chat box, no? Malapit na naman Christmas because it's December 3, December 3. Oh, may nagsabi, excited to learn Webflow. Mampat, our speaker for, our wonderful, amazing speaker for tonight will be happy to show you, the basics or quick ways to make use of Webflow. Good evening as well. And let's wait for a little more people to join us. I think there's still some people, awaiting access to the Zoom room. Okay. Well, you guys are in for a treat for our last workshop. I feel like this is gonna be a good one. Especially if you're a beginner to Webflow like I am. I feel like we are in for a lot tonight. Okay. And even more people are joining us. Let's wait around 2 more minutes. Okay. How are you guys feeling tonight ba? How are you guys looking forward to this last workshop of UX and Chill? And if you joined other workshops in UX and Chill, how was it? Let me know. I wasn't able to go to every workshop, so I'd love to hear from you guys as well. I'll be reading through the chat box. Now, don't be shy. We are all friends here, all willing to learn. Okay. Curious is the right term as well. I'm also curious. No, parang ano ba tong Webflow na to? What is no code? I don't know as well. Really looking forward to our speaker. And I think we have more people joining us. Oh, before I forget, just a couple of reminders for the people in the Zoom room. Please mute your microphones as the talk is ongoing. And of course, if your internet permits, we would be happy to see you guys now. So please turn on your camera if your internet permits you to. Okay, I see you as well, Katrina Santos. Hello and welcome to our event tonight. Okay, I think we can begin. So hello everyone, we are truly grateful that you are here to spend your late afternoon, early evening, I'm not too sure, but we are happy that you're here nonetheless. On behalf of the team and I, we formally welcome you all to UX Society's last day and last workshop of UX and Chill. My name is Jillian Alinio from 3BS Management Information Systems, and I'm pleased to be your host for this workshop. This workshop actually marks the last workshop, last day of our UX and Chill event, but don't worry, we still have one last event for everyone tomorrow, which is the UX Crawl. So I'm hoping all of you guys have already signed up for that because we invited companies to give you guys a glimpse of what life may be like in the corporate world. Exciting din. So before we get on with the workshop, which will be on how to design and no-code your portfolio in a day, I hope you guys will open your notebooks, Notion, etc., any other way you guys would like to take notes, because this surely will be a very informative workshop. Throughout this workshop, feel free to drop some questions in the chat box, and don't be shy, because UX Society really wants this workshop to be a very insightful one, and questions are very much appreciated. Before we start, again, just for general reminders, please mute your microphones while the talk is ongoing and turn on your camera if your internet permits you to. And before we begin with the workshop, of course, let us welcome our speaker for this evening, which will be headed by no other than Miss Pat Ramos. Ms. Pat Ramos is currently building the future of work as a product designer at Swarm, and previously she worked at Acad Arena and interned at Kumu, Investagrams, and 360 Digital Agency. Last but definitely not the least, she's also an alumna of User Experience Society, having led the org during the height of the pandemic as its president during academic year 2020 to 2021. Without further ado, let's welcome back Miss Pat Ramos to UX Society. Let's give her a virtual round of applause, everyone.
Hello, ayan. Should I be saying hello? So hello to everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces and also a bunch of new faces then in the crowd. Should I start sharing my screen, Jill?
Please do.
All right. Yeah. Let me just share my screen. Um, There we go. I guess before we start the whole workshop, maybe we can play a little game of Never Have I Ever. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with how to play this, the mechanics of the game. Basically, I'm gonna share or present a bunch of statements, and if it does apply to you, or if you feel like it's relatable, make sure to react or even send the chat so we can all relate with each other. So first statement, okay, having technical issues with the slides. There. So, first statement, never have I ever procrastinated building my portfolio because the process takes too long. So, let me know, react or send something in the chat if this is something you relate to. Ayan, I can see a bunch of reactions from people. Si Kat. Ayan. Number two, never have I ever procrastinated on my portfolio because I can't code. So I certainly cannot code. Even if I took a very technical course in college. So I pretty much ended up designing everything without learning how to code. So I can see a lot of people actually nowadays in the chat. Ayan. Never have I ever, this is the last statement, procrastinated on my portfolio because hosting and setup or portfolio building is hassle or expensive. So anyone who relates to this, oh, okay, I see a bunch of people saying yes. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for, engaging with the activity. So it's perfect because most of you guys can actually relate to some of the statements here. And good for you guys because I'll actually be doing a workshop on how to build your portfolio without code and in less than a day hopefully. But I do realize that a lot, or maybe some of you here, it's your first time encountering Webflow in general, so it might take more than a day, but it will be definitely faster than if you were to code your website. And disclaimer, this is not at all sponsored by Webflow. I'm feeling, pero like if anyone here is from Webflow as well, make sure to just a disclaimer as well. Pero baka naman Webflow pa sponsor. So before anything, maybe some of you guys are thinking, wait, Pat, you're telling me you can build your portfolio without code? And I'm here to say, yes, it's 2021. There are so much more other like platforms, so many other ways you can actually build your portfolio without needing, code, without needing knowledge in HTML, CSS, or even development in general. But if you're the type of person who just wants to have your design up and ready without doing or learning code, then you are in the right workshop. So yeah, next. Yeah, so I'll be just sharing some of the options you can take if you really don't want to use code in order to build your workshop. And currently, there are a lot more than the options that I presented here. But number one is Type Dream. So this would be best for beginners, especially if you're familiar with Notion or the Notion UI, it's a bit more similar to that. I think it's integrated with Notion actually. So if you want to create your portfolio using Typerium, that's possible. Wix and Squarespace are some of the other more popular options. Again, these would be best for beginners who are a bit more comfortable using templates for their designs. Again, it's faster, easier since you're using templates now. But I guess the only con to this is it's not as customizable. It's a bit more harder to get a little bit more flexibility in terms of design. And Webflow, last but not the least, is best for those who are actually willing to spend a bit more time to learn the mechanics, learn how to use it, but for the price of being able to fully customize your website. So again, for this specific workshop, I'll be mainly focusing on Webflow just because we're assuming that most of you guys here are designers or actually have designs or very customized designs already for your portfolio. So I'm assuming that most of you guys would want to go with this path as well. So next slide. And so again, why Webflow? Number one is because of how easy it is to basically design your site, preview it in one place, publish it maybe in the same day, and whenever you have quick edits, you can do it all in the same platform. Second reason, again, it just offers a bit more of flexibility, customizability, especially if you're a designer that wants to replicate whatever you have on Figma to the like absolute like pixel, like last pixel. You want it really duplicated or replicated from your mockups, then Webflow is a good option for you. Third, Webflow makes it super duper easy as well to make your designs a bit more responsive, aka how it looks like on mobile will kind of translate to how it looks like on desktop a bit more flawlessly. Yeah. So now let's get on to how to actually use Webflow, and this will be really based off okay, sorry, my slides are glitching a bit. But let's get on to actually how to use Webflow. And this workshop will be really based on Webflow University's official Webflow one-on-one crash course. So I've also linked it here. I'll be sharing with you the slides actually after this talk, just so you guys can refer to the slides anytime. But before all this, maybe we can head on to webflow.com. You guys can also log in or start signing up if you haven't. And there's an instruction here to check your dashboard as well. So you can add a new project. So maybe I'll give maybe 2 minutes to everyone for this quick prep. Basically, just logging on to Webflow or signing up. And I guess while you guys are doing that, I'll give a preview also of how I published my design on Webflow or how my portfolio is currently looking like. So this is actually my current portfolio. I actually had an old one that was also in Webflow, actually published in Webflow again. This was my old one. Again, everything here was built on Webflow. We have a few case studies, other projects that I worked with or worked on, and again, my footer, navbar. And we actually have another page, kind of like a quick about page, like a brief bio on myself, my image, and a bit on my previous and current work. So for my new website, it's actually more of the same structure, only I just felt like I got tired of looking at this every day. So I felt pretty tired of like how my old UI looked like or old portfolio looked like. So I switched it up a bit, made it a bit more simpler and easier to digest, at least for me. So this is kind of like the portfolio that we will be using as a reference for the workshop. So ayan, going back into the slides. So I think you guys should have already checked out webflow.com or maybe even logged in or signed up already. Now I'll just be getting into like the whole introduction to Webflow first. Just to cover the fundamentals, you know, what Webflow even is, how to navigate the Webflow Designer, before jumping into the speed run or actually making a portfolio later on. So first of all, I'll be giving you guys a walkthrough of the Webflow Designer, just to familiarize yourself with the tool. So just to show you guys what the designer looks like. This is the Webflow Designer. This is basically, again, pretty self-explanatory. Your canvas, how you can build your design on Webflow. So I'll be walking you guys through the 4 main parts of the Webflow Designer, which is number 1, the canvas, number 2, the left panel, right panel, and also the top panel here. So I guess we can start with the left panel. Ayan. So in the left panel, you can find a bunch of tabs. Number 1 would be the Add Elements tab. And this is really where you can manage or add a bunch of, you know, elements or components for your, you know, sections, for your homepage, for your other pages in the site. So right now we have 4 main blocks for the layout. We have section, container, grids, and columns. So sections are basically blocks that kind of take up the full width of the site. So if I drag a section here on the canvas, it actually, this is actually the whole section. So it takes up 100% of the width of the site. And then if containers, on the other hand, are pretty much the same, they're also blocks, but they keep your content centered. So as you can see, I just dragged the container inside the section, and the container is kind of what sets the content a bit more centered and aligned to your grid. So as you can see here, aligned siya sa navbar and with the rest of our content. So for example, if I do add a heading inside the container, you can see that it's a bit more centered. So let's say I love UX sock. The content is centered. But if I actually take this heading out of the container and put it inside the section instead, you will see that the content is no longer centered, or again, parang it's within the section instead of the container. Yun. So other layouts, again, we just have the grid and columns are kind of like what it sounds like. Basically, if you want to add content side by side, you can do that here in Webflow as well. You can also customize how many columns per row you want. So if I want 4 columns, I can also adjust like the spacing between each column. That's also very possible. So if I want to copy paste this content for each column, again, that's very possible. So there, now you kind of have an idea of how to structure your site. My tip is to always have sections. So if you look at my site, this whole banner thing is actually a section. So it's a hero section. We have another section for my projects. We have another for this, I think, gimmick quote thing. Then another for like some of the blogs that I have. So all of those are sections, and within those sections, I also put containers just to, you know, align everything within the grid or keep all of the content centered. So yun. In the Elements tab, you can find a bunch of other components like your typography. So everything text related, headings, paragraphs, blocks, block quotes, rich text, even you have your CMS list, which I will get into later. Your media, so if you want to upload some images, videos, even embed some YouTube videos, it's very possible. Other components for forms, which you can again just keep dragging onto like the canvas, so it automatically kind of sets the elements for you. A bunch of other stuff here. We also have a bunch of handy components for navbar. Again, para you don't have to make a navbar from scratch. There's already a component here from Webflow. So again, there's example layouts. These are pre-built. So these would be pretty handy, especially if you're very new to Webflow. Maybe you don't need to fully customize your your website, or you feel like this is the same type of like flow naman na you need for your website or your portfolio, then that would be great. All I have to do is simply like drag on the section here, and as you can see, it automatically kind of fits into the canvas. So again, this is actually a pretty standard hero like section. So if you just want to like show yourself, hi, I'm Pat. Let's just copy paste my bio. So if I copy paste it here, again, it just resizes automatically. Maybe you want to add an image. So these are the images that are already in my assets. So yeah, so you've pretty much made a whole section based on the pre-built layouts in the Elements tab. So again, that's just a walkthrough of like everything in the Elements tab. But apart from that, we do have symbols. So symbols are basically your reusable components or reusable styles. So think about, components on Figma. These are pretty much the same thing. I usually use them for, nav bars or footers, because I just need the same content for nav bars and footers across all of my pages. So as you can see, if an element is a symbol or if naka-component siya, it will actually be highlighted with this green like color. So again, my nav bar is a symbol. So if I go to my about page, you will see that it has the same content. But if I actually change this, let's say I am Pat, and I confirm that. Once I go back to the home page, it actually kind of inherits the same content. So every time you want to change something that is applied to all changes, just make sure to mark it as a symbol. So I'll just put it back into Ramos. Ayan. So yeah, those are basically symbols. The navigator is basically your layers panel. So it's kind of like layers in, like, if you're familiar with using Figma or Photoshop, para siyang layers panel. You can manage everything in your canvas here. So again, if I select anything in my canvas, let's say this paragraph, it automatically highlights the same thing in the navigator. So same thing, if I do highlight something in the navigator, it also highlights that in your canvas. So yeah, that's basically it for navigator. It's basically your layers panel. Pages, pretty straightforward. Right now I have 2 pages for my website. So home and about, and then I have a bunch of other pages for my blogs and my projects. So I have everything you can manage here. We also have a bunch of CMS collections. So at least for my portfolio, I have 2 types of collections. One would be the projects, which I have 4 of. 5, it says 5 here, but I actually hid the other one. Kaya 4 lang yung kita dito. And then blogs, which are some of my posted blogs as well. Again, this is how you can manage it here. But if you check the UI, again, they are here as well. So I'll get into CMS and how you can use them later. But basically, we have that. We also have the e-commerce tab, which I won't be getting into since that's not part of the scope for portfolios. We have assets, which is where you can manage some of your images, your videos, anything that you want to upload in your site. And of course, the settings. You also have backups, which you can use to manage like your previous I guess design. If you want to go back to a certain like backup, you can do that, or even view it. So we won't be getting into that as much. But yeah, that's pretty much everything in the left panel. In the right panel, it's pretty much where you can manage your styles or your CSS, I would say. So let's say we select an item here. Actually, I'm selecting one now. And let's actually delete this so we can, yeah. Let's say I select the style in my current design. As you can see, it has a label of heading 1. You can also see the element name here, heading 1. So from here, you can manage everything from the spacing. So if you want to have a bit more of space between some of the items, you can add margins or even padding between the items. But I want to keep it 0 lang. Maybe you want to change the position, the size, or even the type. Since we're changing up type here, might as well change this up. So let's say you want to make this into Montserrat. You want to change the color to, let's say, pink. Even the size of the like font that you have. Ayan. So as you can see, we kind of changed it up, and you can do everything here as well as manage the background color of the current design or current element that you're choosing. So if you want to make the background pink, or I don't know, ayan, ang pangit na guys. Pero ayan, just to show you guys how you can edit the styles. You can even add borders here, add effects. If you want to add opacity to your current element, that's totally possible as well. And then you have a bunch of other cool things here, like parang moving the element a bit more to the left or even to the right, up or down. So you can do that all here. I'll just refresh some of our changes, but yeah. So it's pretty cool because you can fully customize how you want a current or your chosen element to look like to the absolute detail. Here you have a bunch of other tabs for element settings, your style manager, which is what your current styles are. Everything you can see here from your bills container, good cards, everything I put here are under this. And the good thing is that once you do have a bunch of styles that you don't use, you can always clean it up. It will all this kind of part will always show up once you do have any styles that aren't being used. So I usually just remove that. Um, and then the cool part is that you can actually also manage interactions or add animations in interactions per element. So that is like the cool thing about Webflow. So once you actually preview my site, you will see that medyo may loading animation siya, medyo maarte. So I did that mainly through animations. So if we want to add an animation, or let's say let's edit this one, all you have to do is select your element, go into the interactions, and then add one. Let's say I want to make this into a grow animation. And then we can also preview how the animation will look like here. So, ayan, from everything. And then once we want to preview that, we just select this eye icon. And again, ayun na siya. So, naging grow animation na siya. And ayun, let's put it back into the one I made earlier. Yeah, and you can also set the delay. So for me, actually, I think I set the delay for mine. Ayan, just for a little bit of a dramatic effect. Yeah, and you can edit to the absolute detail how dramatic or how long your interaction will take. So that is basically it for the right panel, basically your styles and interactions. For the top panel naman, you have your breakpoints, or basically how your screen will look like across different devices or screen sizes. And this is, I would say, the best thing about Webflow as well. It makes it super easy to, manage your screen sizes. So we have desktop as a base breakpoint. So basically everything that I edit here will translate to the smaller screen sizes. So let's say, diba? Like I make this a bit smaller. So let's say let's make it 40. And as you can see, okay, it didn't change, pero let's say let's make it this one. Let's make it another color na lang. So as you can see, even smaller sizes were changed because of breakpoints. And the good thing about this is you can customize it per like screen size or per breakpoint. So if I think, for desktop, gusto ko ano lang siya, 2 columns. Pero sa mobile, I want everything to stack up into 1 column. That's very much possible. You can edit, how it looks like per screen size. So, ayun. So I think I pretty much covered everything in Webflow Designer. That is basically like the whole UI for, using the tool. That is pretty much how you can navigate Webflow basically. And actually here in the slides, I kind of gave a summary lang of everything. So left panel, what you can do there, right panel, what you can do there, top panel, manage breakpoints, expert code, preview site, publish site, and then of course your canvas. And then I did explain earlier a bit about the box model as well, but I guess just to recap, so everything you can see here, everything you're editing in Webflow are basically just a bunch of div blocks. If you hover on this tooltip, you can actually read that div blocks are your most generic layout element that helps you structure your site. So a section is a div block, a container is a div block. The only difference is, again, sections take up the full width, containers keep your content like centered, and so on and so forth. I think also here I kind of gave the differences between when to use a column, when to use a grid. So we have 2 types kasi here that may or may not serve the same purpose. So columns are the best if you just want to keep your content side by side, and they kind of have the same or measure balance in the X and Y axis. But grids are best used since they're a bit more flexible if medyo different yung X and Y axis mo, or if basically it looks like this yung content mo na you want to put out. But yeah, that's like quick briefer lang about when to use or when to best use columns and grids. Yeah. Next, we also have the layers panel, which again, I quickly gave a run through earlier. It's basically your layers panel, but not really, because you don't really work with layers naman sa Webflow. You kind of do, but not in a literal sense. So if Figma has layers, Photoshop has layers, Webflow certainly also has the navigator panel. Symbols, we gave a run through of this earlier as well. They're basically your reusable elements. So best used for navbars or footers or other reusable styles. So yes, you can very much detach instances on Webflow as well. If you're a Figma user and you love detaching instances, you can do that on Webflow. And then next up, we have interactions and animations. I think I gave you an example of how to do that as well. My hover like effect here is actually an interaction that I just used as a workaround, but definitely there are loads of ways to use interactions in Webflow. And then content management system, it means exactly what it sounds like. I'll go through it later when we do the speed run, but it's basically how you manage or edit your content, especially if you're the type to have blogs for portfolios. I'm sure you guys have case studies as well. So I kind of draft everything and put them in the CMS here. Responsiveness, again, that's something you can do on Webflow. You can manage how it would look like on a tablet, on your desktop, mobile, and etc. So now let's get into the, I guess, building portion of the workshop. We're actually, maybe I can ask for one, volunteer that wants a mock up portfolio that I can make for them very quickly. So does anyone want to volunteer? Drop your name in the chat or say hello. Yeah. Jill, maybe ikaw na lang.
Pwede naman, of course. I
Ayan.
would be honored.
All right. So you can everyone else can totally do it with us. It's going to be pretty like guided naman. Even though I'm gonna be specifically doing Jill's just as an example. But I guess the biggest tip, before you even delve into or jump into Webflow, make sure you have your design ready, of course, whether it's on Figma, whether it's a wireframe, whether it's on paper or Adobe XD, etc. Make sure that you just have it kasi medyo mahirap yung you're gonna do everything directly on Webflow agad. Again, it's gonna be a bit high effort to directly jump on Webflow. So just a quick tip, make sure you have your designs ready on Figma at least so you have a reference before jumping into Webflow. So for this workshop proper, we're gonna get into some portfolio making. So starting with the hero, later on the project CMS until the projects page, and yung navbar and footer natin. So, later na yun. But before we get into, I'll go actually sa dashboard natin just so we can make a new project. Ayan. So, exposed ako. I'm actually using my brother's Webflow account because to access his free student Webflow. Delete this because wala pang project. Follow. Yeah. Shout out to my brother who has a student account. But yan. So we're gonna make a new blank site. Just so we can do everything from scratch. I'll name this Jill's Amazing Portfolio. So thank you again, Jill, for
Oh, thank you.
volunteering. Even though you volunteer, I forced you.
It is my honor.
Ayan. So basing on like our flow for today, we're gonna make the hero section first. So Jill, what type of like hero section? Do you want something that's column? Do you want something that's similar to this na name lang?
I think I'd want to try something two column.
Okay, column tayo. So again, what we can do is there's two ways to do that actually. One is to use this one, yung parang pre-built na siya. It's kind of like cheating actually because it's ready for you. So if you want to say, I'm Jill, blah, blah, blah. But another way you can do that is by totally from scratch. So we're gonna add a section here. And again, that's just to parang segregate your content into a section. I'm gonna add a container just to keep my content centered. And then let's add a column since Jill specifically wanted a 2-column type of section for this. So, ayan. So, just to replicate this, I guess, let's add a heading that also says the same thing. So, I'm Jill. And then let's add a paragraph under that. So, as you can see, guys, what I'm doing is literally just dragging and dropping elements here. It's as simple as that, really. The magic happens when you customize your site talaga based on like your style here in the styles tab. But yeah, pretty much the rest of the portfolio building process is just you dragging everything in blocks or boxes. So let's just copy this hero image here in the second column. And ayan, we've basically made your hero section, Jill. Let's add maybe
Thank
a
you.
button then for here. So as you can see, naka-outline na rin siya which one is column 1, column 2. So in column 1, you do have your heading, your paragraph, your button. And here in the second column, you have your hero image. But anytime you want to, maybe you want to be different and you want to switch up like the order of columns. Ay, ayan, I can't, ano. All I have to do is really, I guess, drag the content to the other column if you want to image dito. And then this one, I'll just drag it onto the other side. Ayan. So, ayan, Jill, which layout do you actually prefer? Yung ganito or yung ganitong parang nasa left yung image?
I think I prefer having the image sa right.
So, right. Okay, so yeah, let's go with this. But I guess another thing pala, do you have a preferred background color, Jill?
Ooh, I like the color. Actually, I think I'll go with white lang.
Okay, let's go with white. Sige. Ayan. Just another thing, if you noticed, yung section na to here sa top, it has a bit of white space in between the containers. We can actually replicate it here. Let's actually add a background color here. Maybe let's make it pink. Since pink is my favorite color. So, ayan na rin yung favorite color ni Jill ngayon. So, ayan. Let's add a section here. So, as you can see, medyo here may white space siya. In the second section here, wala. That's actually pretty simple. All we have to do is select the section and add a bit of padding. So, let's say 100 in between sa bottom. So, na-add na here. You can actually hover on this and see how much space is there. And then the bottom, let's add another 100. So as you can see, my white space na rin siya. So, ayan. But again, I think Jill prefers this version na nasa right yung image. So I'll quickly delete this. And ayan, now we basically have the hero section, Jill. So ayan, you're one step closer to your dream portfolio. Next, maybe let's get into the project section. So I'll quickly just add a section here. Maybe I'll name this as projects section. And then before all that, syempre we have to make a parang add in the content. So what we have to do is go into CMS, check the CMS tab, and then add your first collection. So let's name this collection as Jill's projects. And then basically these are the fields for your selection. Let's say we want a project description. By default, you already have your name and your slug. So let's say we want to add a project description and it's gonna be multiple lines since description shot's probably gonna be long. And then let's say, let's add an image actually. So project image. And then lastly, let's add color options since also that is possible. Color. Actually, let's add a switch na rin just to show you guys some options later. Switch. Ayan. So now we're creating this to be able to add projects later on. And this would be really handy if you have case studies you want to present. So ayan, this is a very, very simple CMS lang or collection, but we're going to create it. And now by default, you're going to have 0 projects, but that's actually create your first project, Jill. So let's say this is your project case study is called UX and chill. And maybe you can give me a description on what UX and chill is, Jill.
UX and chill is an amazing opportunity to learn from various amazing speakers. Ayan.
Let's say such as Pat Ramos.
Oh, diba? Shout out na rin. Shout out.
Shout out na lang. Ayan. And then color, let's also add a color for this. I think UX and Chill's official color is parang purple-ish. So let's add that. And then let's keep this switch open. And then we want to add an image. Pwede naman. Let's say sample na lang. Kunyari, ito na lang yung image ni UX and Chill. UX Recre pala. Yan. So I actually uploaded an image here just for a sample. Then we're gonna create that. Then let's add another one para lang may extra. Let's say Jill's project. Then I love UX sock. And again, let's just add a image there. Desktop. Ayan. So I just added an image. Color for this one, maybe blue naman. Because I think that is UX Socks color naman. And again, this one naman, the switch is off. So I love UX Sock. Ayan. So now we have 2 projects. And now, because we have 2 projects, we can actually add a CMS collection. Before that, let's add a container lang. Just so may lalagyan yung collection natin. We're gonna drag this here. And we're gonna state the source as Jill's projects. So now, as you can see, it automatically kind of populated with the 2 projects that we made. One would be Jill's project and the other is UX and Chill. Let's say yung layout natin, gusto natin side by side. Or, ayan. Next up, nandiyan na yung wrapper mo, basically, but we don't have content or design for it yet. So let's make a card, for example. We're gonna drag in a div block inside the collection item. We're gonna name it, let's say, card. And then we're gonna actually change the background color of the card to make it automatically the color that we stated earlier. So let's say we select again the card, go into the element settings, and then let's say get background color from Jill's projects. So we're gonna select that and select the field color, and voila, it automatically pre-populated with like the color now we wanted or we stated earlier from the CMS collection. So again, very magical yung CMS ng Webflow. But now we have the background color of the card. Maybe let's add a text heading just to have like a name for the card. And we want the name to be, or the text to be taken from the name. So again, automatic na siya. This one's Jill's project. This one is UX and Chill because that's what we pre-populated from the CMS. So, ayan. Now, this isn't really looking like a card because it kind of wrapped into the text. So what we're gonna do is select again the card here as a navigator, and maybe let's add padding, or yeah, let's add padding for the card. So let's say gusto natin 40 sa taas, but maybe yan. And then the side, maybe 20 lang. Let's add 20 na rin here. But as you can see, now it kind of looks like more of a card, I would say. But kulang pa tayo since we actually added images earlier. We can do that here and drag it over and choose an image. So instead of choosing an image, what we can do is upload a generic image. We're actually gonna get it from the one we uploaded to CMS earlier. So project image. Ayan, so it automatically kind of pre-populated the card with the image we uploaded earlier. Although, pangit pa yung image nito. But, ayan, now we kind of have your projects, Jill. So, you currently have 2 projects na. And I think from here, we went over how to upload your projects to CMS, how to create your project section. So again, let's just add a bit of white space in the projects here, project section. Maybe let's add or 100 lang then, top and bottom. Ayan. Actually, let's make it padding na lang. Ayan. And maybe let's add a background color here para there's distinction between the hero page or hero section and the project section. Do you have a preferred color for this section, Jill?
Do something pink in honor of your favorite color as well.
Alright. Ayan. Medyo nag-clash siya sa projects natin color pero ayan. Okay. So actually, this purple is a bit too dark pala. So what we can do is edit it directly here. But just go into your CMS again and maybe change the color a bit para, forgot to save. Ayan. So, oh, did I save it? Essential. Ayan. So automatically it changed the background color of the card as well. And now you have your cards. So with that, I think the next step is to kind of make your projects template. So here kasi, once you click on, for my portfolio at least, or for, portfolios usually, they usually have case study pages. So for mine, this is what it would typically look like. Parang may info ka lang on your case study. So let's try to make one for yours then, Jill. So for example, let's get into the Jill's project templates page. So right now you have a home page, but you also have a dynamic page for your case studies. So let's click on now. And you can also select which project you want to edit. Let's select UX and Chill. Let's kind of replicate how we did this. So actually did was put a section lang. And then add in like your text then. Let's say container pala muna. And then your heading. Let's say, let's get the text from the name of the project. So UX and Chill. And then maybe let's center this a bit. Let's also add a bit of adding here. UX and Chill. And then like an image then of like your chosen image earlier. Ayan. So, ayan. Now you've kind of set your section and you can basically make this. And let's make this background actually the same purple that we got earlier, just for example. And then, so it kind of, this is kind of like the same structures here, only my, ano lang, CSS a bit. And then let's add another section to contain your project description or like what's included basically in your case study. So let's say I want to add a paragraph and we're gonna pull in the text from the project description. So ayan, the one we wrote earlier about how amazing UX and Chill is. We put that here. And let's set in the padding for this to maybe 60. And let's add more padding than here. So just an example, definitely you can still add a bit more items. If you want to add more paragraphs, you can do that via the CMS. But right now we were able to add one description lang kasi, so let's just work with what we have. Maybe you want to make this a bit bigger, so let's change this to Montserrat, for example. Make this like 24. Let's make this into 4 times 3. And center the text. So pretty much this is your this is how your case study or projects page would look like if you click on the project page here. So let's go back to the home page actually, and we pretty much have it set up, although hindi pa siya na-design. But I think lastly, we delved into the first 4. Let's get into the navigation and footer, which are pretty easy to do since Webflow already has components for them. So what we can just do is either one, just go into Elements tab to scroll down to the bottom and then select the navbar component. And then as you can see, it automatically creates your menu bar, your brand, and everything here. Tapos, if you want to do the same for a footer, again, that's pretty like easy na rin since we have components here. I think it's in the layout. So in the layouts, again, they're pre-built. So you can literally just drag your footer section to the bottom and it automatically creates it for you. So we pretty much have our website already, although ano pa siya, hindi siya designed. So again, if you wanna like design this a bit, it's very possible naman. Jill, do you have anything specific that you want to change here?
For the header?
Anything within the site para we can make it a bit prettier and more.
Okay. Actually, let's change the color, the background color for the project section.
This one.
Yeah, because it clashes. What would be a good color?
That's actually best. Ano maganda? Rather than darker, if ano. Then actually maybe you can add or change the font of this. Do you have a favorite font?
Classic na lang tayo. Open Sans.
Open Sans. Let's make this a bit bigger naman para it's more than 64 MB. I'm Jill. Hey, I'm Jill. So
can we also add is it a padding ba? Do we add a padding between hey, I'm Jill and the description?
Pwede.
You can also add
a margin for that actually. So again, just select the element you want to add margins for, and then add ka lang.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 20 na lang. Since let's add an image actually. Kaso, should I search for an image of you? Punta tayo sa
Naghahanap talaga.
Sa Facebook na lang natin. So, what's your name on Is it still Jill?
Yes, just
sakto. You changed your profile picture. So, Yan. Okay lang ba yan?
Okay na. Na-expose na ako. Hello, guys.
So, say Jill. Ayan. So, for anyone watching, let's like and share Jill's new DP. And then select, going back to Webflow, let's just upload our image. So what we do is actually go back to the left panel, select assets here, and then upload your own image. And then, oh no, where did Jill's image go? Ayan. Ayan. So we actually have your image already here. Tapos I guess you're free to like add animations. Maybe let's do that actually para it's a bit more
Sure.
So again, for animations, what you want to do is go into select your element first. So let's actually select this whole div block, and then let's go to interactions, add an element trigger if you want it to be triggered by the element, or if you want parang a more page driven interaction, you can select page trigger as well. For this one, maybe let's say it's a page trigger. So every time or once na nag-load yung page mo, let's have an interaction. And let's say the interaction that we want is diba? Select the first. Ayan, let's hide or show. Let's make a fade animation along every time. So again, just select and then select another, add another animation for hide and show. And by default, let's select the initial state as a hidden, or actually, let's make it opacity. Yan. So, initial state natin, parang ganyan pa siya. And then once the page loads, let's make the opacity 100 para it kind of has this fading effect. So again, we're applying that to this specific div block that we selected. So you can simply just edit some of your actions here. And ayan. So let's actually preview that. Ayun. So let's go. If you select preview, you will actually see na it actually works na. So again, that interaction will happen once the page loads. So if we want to add another interaction for this one, let's make this an element trigger naman. So let's say every time we hover on this image, this maybe has like let's make it do an action. Ayan. So jiggle or something. Ayan. So simple interaction lang. Ayun. So as you can see, if I load the site, the fading interaction will happen. And at the same time, once I hover on Jill's image, kind of does this interaction. So very, lang siya. Very arte, That's actually, I think we can just add a brand here as well. So maybe let's just add a text block. And just add or just change this thing to Jill's volume. And name it here, and let's change it to her favorite font, Open Sans, and let's keep this white actually. Background and navbar. Currently it's set to gray, so let's make it white na lang. or even transparent. Yan. So, yan, we basically made your portfolio, Jill. Pero, syempre, this will be a bit more personalized and prettier pa once we actually get into the um nitty-gritty styles, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole workshop proper. Again, I think we have a Q&A section, so I might just answer a bit more other specific questions then, such as specific how-tos. But before we do end the workshop, I do just want to announce that Webflow is free for students, or at least the CMS plan is free for students. It's actually the reason why I'm using my brother's Webflow account kasi siya na lang yung eligible to get the students plan. But again, it's very clear, the instructions to do it. All you have to do is go to webflow.com/for/classroom. And then this is where you'll end up. There's a specific form that you just have to fill up, just to, I guess, have proof of your student identity. I think they ask you to state the date when you're graduating, some I think your transcript or proof lang, any proof that you're enrolled in a university as well or school is fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the workshop. But before I do like pass it on to the host, we do have a bunch of resources here. Very quickly lang then, we do have Webflow University, which is Webflow's actual official like hub of resources and tutorials. They actually do have the best tutorials like ever, period. And we also have the Webflow forum, officially by Webflow as well, where you can ask people, kind of like Stack Overflow siya for Webflow people. You have FinSuite, which is actually given or recommended as a resource by Sir JP, Renicious, actual pro, more of a pro than me, for Webflow related stuff. So he actually gave this recommendation. I've been watching Flux Academy also on YouTube. They do a bunch of best Webflow designs, mga feature, mga tutorials from time to time. And of course, we also have the No Code Conference, which I think they have recordings up. So even if you missed it, we can view the recordings on their website. So again, these are all linked. I'll share the slides after this talk, so everyone can view the links that are on here. So thank you so much, UXSOC. Make sure to share your portfolio once you've built it, and make sure to tag me. These are my socials. So Patricia Ramos on Twitter and Instagram. They can kasi Patricia Ramos, guys. And then Pat Ramos Design also on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And just a few plugs. Once your portfolio is up, make sure to apply to get, SWAR verified if you're looking for freelance projects. Whether if you're a designer, dev, or PM, get access to, freelance projects and an amazing community at Swarm. We also do have an event tomorrow, actually, at Swarm. That will be catered towards leading remote teams. So if you're interested in that, we have big time speakers, Glenn Pardo, Rajiv, and Manny Ayala. So yeah, very required plugs for Swarm. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm open to your questions now.
All right, I can vouch for that. No, Swarm has an amazing community as well. And of course, thank you so much, Miss Pat, for sharing to us your experience with no code. And I'm very glad that I have a portfolio now. I can just sneakily just copy that real quick. But we do have questions for you. We have a couple of questions in our Slido, and you guys can still ask as well. I think the link is still in the chat box. We have here. Oh, how do you publish the website? Is it for free?
Okay, sige. I actually didn't show that earlier. So I'll go back to Brave or my desktop. But if you check this now, you can actually go to the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you will see na you can publish it. for free. Basta Webflow domain lang siya. So this website, I can actually publish it now. So this will be immortalized.
Wow.
So, and then once we do that, you can preview it. So again, I'll send the link to everyone in the chat. So you can very much check it out. So yes, to answer your question, it is free, pero you will be limited to using the webflow.io domain unless you pay for, let's say, a custom domain. If you want one, you would have to upgrade to, I think, a CMS or basic plan.
Okay, that's actually great that you mentioned the domain, because another question here was how did you get your domain to be customized?
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So yeah, so I actually just bought my domain yesterday, or I think the other day. Parang um I bought it not on Webflow, so you still have to find like a domain provider. I think I got mine from namecheap.com, but there are loads of other domain providers out there naman. And usually for the first year, it's pretty cheap lang, which is I got it for 1 year lang. And then after that, I had to upgrade my my Webflow plan to CMS plan. But I think again, basic plan allows you to have a custom domain then. Again, it's why I use my brother's account to be eligible sa free CMS plan. But yeah, basically the domain itself, you have to purchase it from another provider. Pero hosting, you can do it via Webflow provided you have a plan that's aside from the free plan.
Okay, all right. There is another question right here. Just curious, but are there any portfolios of other people that have caught your eye because you just like how they look?
Oh, yes, I do. I actually I'll give you guys a site. It's called Best Folios. And this is where I mainly look for inspos. But ayan, may mga portfolio inspo sila, but a bunch of other portfolio collections then. And it's just loading, but a lot of these are very very good actually, and I tend to get inspos from here, but also I do check out yung FinSuite earlier that I talked about. It actually has a bunch of Webflow expert websites as well, but ayan. So, mga featured websites that are actually made in Webflow. So, if you want to see what's possible, the limits you can do in Webflow, the unlimited actually. So, check the inspos out. But personally, syempre pa-plug ko yung sa Swarm team. So, I like yan. Sila Pawi. I think she just updated hers as well. Ayan. So we have Pawis, we have Rafas, which actually, yeah, this is also made on Webflow, by the way. So, yan. Baka magalit sila kasi I think they're still updating this. But, yan. This one is also made on Webflow. We have, yan, kay Alexis, which he just presented yesterday, pero he just redesigned this kasi. So this one is very cool as well. Ayan, very dramatic pic. And what else? There's a lot more, but again, like I'm free to like send naman a bunch of other resources. But yeah, best folios usually and other Webflow sites then.
That was Best Folios and FinSuite, right?
Yeah. I'll send the links at chat.
FinSuite, yes, FinSuite. Okay, and we have two more questions. I think this was mentioned early on in your presentation, but can you recommend other platforms besides Webflow for building portfolios? Maybe if there are other platforms aside from the three that you mentioned.
Right. Okay, sige. So I'll just briefly repeat the three na lang in case the person wasn't here. One is Type Dream. So again, this is kind of similar to Notion in a way. Yung UI niya, how you fill in, medyo blocks style din siya. Ito yung I guess preview niya. Again, looks like Notion. But as in website talaga siya. So this is a bit more easier to, I guess, use and get around with than Webflow. So if you're a beginner talaga, you can get away with using Typedream because they have templates as well. So even Webflow naman has free and paid templates if you don't want to build something from scratch. But again, option lang yung from scratch naman. Another is Wix or Squarespace, which I think most of you guys would be familiar with. So, ayan. Again, it's a website builder. So, legit, para siyang drag and drop everything. Squarespace is also very viable as well. They also do have templates, same with Wix. And then some of the newer ones I've been seeing are Bubble. So it's also no code. I think this is the closest to Webflow in a way that it's really customizable. Although I haven't used Bubble yet, but I've been hearing a lot of buzz about it then. So, ayan.
Okay, thank you so much, Pat. I think there's a follow-up question with the topic of custom domains. When using custom domains, no need to purchase hosting, domain name lang.
If you're using Webflow specifically, once you upgrade kasi and pay for a paid Webflow plan, it automatically covers hosting for you. So if you don't have the student discount, it will still be paid kasi nga you're paying for the plan, which includes hosting. But for let's say are you asking this in the context of Webflow? Kasi if it isn't naman, I think hosting still needs parang, I'm not sure how you do it if you coded your website or built it from scratch and then pay for hosting. But for Webflow specifically, you have to pay using for the plan, which includes hosting, and then pay for the domain name as well.
Okay, I hope that answered your question. All right, and we have one more question here. How else can you make portfolios more interactive or engaging? Maybe you can show other sample features of these in Webflow.
Sige. By engaging, I guess really just use the interactions or just make it really personalized, make sure that your portfolio is, whether or not you built it on Webflow or another platform, make sure your portfolio that you design is, up to your taste, it reflects who you are. I'm sure this one, Jill, can make this a bit more her pa, because this one is like the basic template pa lang. But just make it really fit what you do, who you are, make sure it reflects in your portfolio. In terms of like technical stuff, I would recommend, really abusing, I guess, like the styles here. Actually, you're not limited to these fonts naman. You can actually add custom fonts for free. So let's say I do want to add a font of my own. I can, here I just selected add fonts. And then let's say upload or even select a Google font na nandito. Or even upload your own. And that would be really great if you want your own customized, that's really different and caters to your style again. But also really maximize the interactions. Again, there's so much resources on like YouTube as well that you can check out what are the best interactions. If you have any gimmicks you want to try out, again, it's your site naman. So make sure it you, I guess, maximize the platform then. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Hopefully, that was up to par. I think it was a great answer naman to this question. But there's one more pahabol din sa Slido. Is there a website with a showcase of Webflow made websites? I think FinSuite was one. Was it
Yeah,
FinSuite?
FinSuite
Yeah.
is one, but you can actually check out Webflow mismo. They actually have this page called Showcase, where you can see like different designs by, and these are all specifically Webflow projects, because of course it's under Webflow. So if you want to see something that's more on animation, again, they have a bunch of examples here. I'll link it actually. Yung page. Yan. So again, if you want to see inspos on portfolios, madami din dito. Yeah. And then aside from like website resources, you can also check out like some of the Webflow communities. I know there's a Webflow community. Let me search on Facebook lang. But there should be a bunch of other Webflow communities that you can follow. You can follow people on there and see what they're working on. That would be a great tip then, especially since most of them are also PH designers. So yeah.
So thank you so much. That's all the time we have for the question and answer, actually. Thank you so much, Ma'am Pat, for joining us today. And of course, as we are nearing the end of the event, please do take the evaluation form here on the screen. I think it's going to be on the screen, but the link will also be sent through the chat box right here. All right. And last but definitely not the least, we would like to thank our speaker for today, Pat Ramos, for taking the time from your busy schedule to come and share your knowledge and expertise in this workshop. You have definitely played a great role in making this workshop a success, and we obviously would love to thank you for that. Also, before we forget, tomorrow will be our UX Crawl event. So make sure you sign up for that because we also have invited a company representative to talk about what it's like for them in the company. No? So everyone is welcome to join this as well. Don't worry. We look forward to seeing you there tomorrow. And now that we finished the talk, let's all take a little group photo to commemorate this session.